Okay, we're back. We're going to look at page 7 of the handout, so you should have printed that out or opened it up and be able to take a look at it. Okay, so on this page we see a map of the United States. Let's look for the components that we're used to looking for on this map. So first of all, we have a title. It says United States elevation. Maybe we know what that means, maybe we don't. We'll come back to it in a minute. We also have a compass rose. Look, it's over in the ocean off to the right side of the map. In this case, remember how I said sometimes the compass rose is tilted a little bit? Because instead of just looking at part of the United States, we're looking at a bigger map here. It's always more likely that the compass rose would be tilted a little bit because north is going to point to the North Pole, not just up. So if the Earth is round, the North Pole's up here. We've got a map. If it pointed straight up, it would be over here. No, if it points the north, it has to point towards the North Pole. We also have a scale of miles at the bottom. We'll be using that for one of the questions. And we have a map key over here in the lower left-hand corner. And it says elevation in feet. So we'll figure out what we mean by that. All right? So those are the components we're used to looking for on the map. Okay, so again, we want to try to answer questions without any further content knowledge. You can be learning the content knowledge you need to learn in the social studies classes. This class we're just thinking about how we interpret graphics, visuals and graphics, maps being a very important graphic that we see on the social studies test and other GED and HiSET tests. But we're not going to get very far without understanding what elevation is. So what do we do if we elevate something? We lift it up. I had to elevate my leg after I sprained my ankle. I had to put it up so that the blood wouldn't run down into my foot. So elevation means that. It means the height or the lack of height of a piece of land. So think about it. Mountains are very high above sea level. There are places on Earth that are actually below sea level. This concept of sea level, that the sea is at a certain level all over the globe and that land sticks up higher than that or goes down lower than that in some places. Now, the ocean is not actually all in only one level all over the globe because the tide, the moon pulls the tide, so the sea level might shift a little bit. But this idea of elevation, how high above sea level, how low below sea level land is. So that's what elevation is. And our map key says that certain colors here, the land is over 6,561 feet. The next color down the scale there, anything on the map that's that color is between 3,281 feet and 6,560 feet, and so on, down to 0. 0 would be sea level here on this map. Okay, so we've got some questions about this. Take a look. The first question asks us to use the scale of miles. Now, we don't have to have an exact ruler. We can use something like our pencil or our pen and hold it up against the scale of miles. And if I do that, I see that the scale of miles there, 300 miles is about that far, if I do that, right? So now I can measure the distance between Houston and Atlanta. So you see Houston down here at the bottom of the map. You see Atlanta over here towards the right. You got that? Let's see how many little distances, how many little pieces that are that long I can fit there. And I could say 1, 2, about 2. So if that far, from there to there, is 300 miles, then it's about 600 miles between Houston and Atlanta. So we can find our answer must be D, right? When we get scale of mile questions like this, they're not going to be exact. We're not going to get an answer that says it's 625 miles and it's 615 miles. They're going to be big differences. So you can just use your pencil or a piece of paper that you might have, during the test, I don't know, scratch paper or something to get something that you can measure with. Okay, now, number 4. Based on the map, which state would most likely have one of the highest points in the nation? Okay, now we're in trouble because, look, there are no state names on this map. But the answers are Minnesota, Colorado, Maine, and Arkansas. So remember, if you look back at the lesson in Canvas, one of the things that I suggested is that you need to spend plenty of time using that Shepherd software to learn where the states are, what their names are, and what their postal codes are. Okay, so if we've done that, we should know that where Minnesota is on this map, where Colorado is, where Maine is, and where Arkansas is. But there's another thing that we need to know, and this is outside knowledge that we would have to bring in with us from our history class, from our geography class, social studies geography class. And that is the fact that there's a mountain range that goes down through the center of the country, crossing through Colorado. But we can also see that the part of this map, Minnesota, is, if we look at the color on the map that represents over 6,561 feet, the only one of these states that is in a section of the map that is that color is Colorado. So that would be the state that would be most likely to have the highest elevation, the point that's highest in the country. All right? All right, number 5. There's a video lesson that you looked at earlier about longitude and latitude. So we just have to see the longitude and latitude lines are listed on the map. We have to find 35 north and 85 west, and where those two lines cross on the map is nearest Atlanta, right? It's not nearest Philadelphia or Columbus or Houston. So use what we learned in the lesson about longitude and latitude, the little video that I put in this lesson, to find that longitude and latitude. Okay, number 6. Based on the map, what's the relative location, that means the approximate location of Detroit. So find Detroit on the map. It's up here near the top. And which one of these is about where it is? It's north of Columbus. That's true. We can see where Columbus is on the map, and we see where Detroit is, and it's north from there. It's not west of Denver. Find Denver on the map. West would be towards California. Detroit is east, so that's not the case. And then we have some longitude and latitude. If we find these on the map, they're not very close to Detroit, neither of them. So the only possible answer here is A, north of Columbus. Number 7, in which area of the United States would you find land with the lowest elevation? So we're looking for land that is the color in this lowest box, 0 to 660 feet. And remember, if you look at the handout in this other, in the lesson that I give you about the regions in the United States, we can see that this land, the southeast, would have the land with the lowest elevation. Okay? And number 8, approximately how many miles would you travel if you left Columbus to visit Denver? Again, use our whatever we can to measure between Columbus, Ohio and Denver, and you see that it's more than 900, less than 1,200 miles, so the only answer that fits there is A, 950 miles. It's closer to that than 1,000 miles, okay, which would be B. So the answer would be A. Okay, so I'm going to sign out here. I'll sign back in for another video for the next page. All right.